Hi, I'm Bob Sirott from WLS Music Radio 89.
This is Chuck Schaden on radioactive WLTD.
This is Sherman Kaplan, WBBM News Radio 78.
And Mother Weber's oldest son, Clark, from WMAQ Country.
Isn't it fun to see some of the radio guys? We're going to meet some of Chicago's best radio performers and talk about the radio biz in the big city. Want to stay up for midnight? Good. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I've got problem perspiration, and Mitchum's got two of the most effective ingredients to help fight it. It's tough.
But Mitchum's not rough on tender skin. It's gentle.
When you use it at night, Mitchum works even better. While you're sleeping, it's working in.
You wake up feeling dry and smelling clean all day. That protection won't shower away. Use Mitchum at night, then say, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night to problem perspiration.
See the true story of a man who is actually adopted by the animals of the forest and learns to live in harmony with nature. The life and times of Grizzly Adams, an unforgettable family adventure. Rated G.
Held over. Final week in Chicagoland, Maryville, Waukegan, Gary, Evanston, and Hammond. Now showing for 1 week only in Kenosha and Niles. Sunday through Tuesday in Ottawa, Peru, and Streator. Tuesday only in Mendota. Wednesday for 2 days only in Kentland and Rensselaer. Wednesday for 4 days only in Winnemac.
What makes Big John's beans taste so extra special? It's my Big John's Fixins right on top. We take sweet country molasses, the smoky goodness of hickory-flavored bacon, the richness of thick tomato ketchup, and golden onions. Then we cook them all up to make the fixins for Big John's Beans and Fixins. Yes, ma'am. The only way to top Big John's beans is with Big John's Fixins.
Invest in your future by U.S. Savings Bonds.
In the big city of Chicago, there are at least 72 radio stations. That's quite a heap. About 37 of them are the old-fashioned AMers, and 35 of them are those super hi-fi FMers. And all of us can't listen to all of those stations. Heaven knows most people pick one favorite radio station and kind of listen to that one for a year or two or a lifetime. Others turn the dial and keep looking for something they never find. We in the TV business, of course, are interested in radio because I remember back in the late 40s, early 50s, when it was said that TV would replace radio. Seems like we haven't if we still have 72 stations going strong in the big city. We're pleased tonight to introduce you to some radio personalities, perhaps people whom you listen to, and you'll be amazed that the voice doesn't go with the face. That's usually the first reaction to seeing someone from radio on TV. My guest tonight, beginning with Bob Sirott of WLS Music Radio 78, which,
Wait
yes?
Close enough. 89.
Oh, yeah, that's right, 89, Bob. And here's Sherman Kaplan, who is from News Radio 89. Now I've turned the frequencies around.
Subtract 8 on that.
And over here is Chuck Schaden, who's on WLTD, and Chuck's the guy who has revived the old-time radio shows and plays them for you on radio today.
We've got about the most old-fashioned AMer in town.
Mr. Nostalgia of the big city. And next to him is Clark Weber, who currently is a country guy at WMAQ in their new format of country and western music.
When you started talking about the 40s and 50s, I thought you were going to tell people you grew up with me.
Clark, I grew up as a fan of yours. I checked Clark's shoes to see if he's been out in the barnyard getting this.
I scraped them off before I came in here.
Listen, I can remember as a kid, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you would zero in on WLS or WCFL, and you would listen to people like Clark or Dick Biondi or any of several other names that were big in the 50s.
Why don't we all make Clark feel old now and say, okay, I grew up listening to Clark too.
What breaks me up, though, Bob, is the woman who walks up to me with her arm full of children and says, do you remember me from 1960 at New Trier High School?
You weren't on the barn dance, were you?
No, I didn't. No, that was Red Blanchard.
Oh,
Chuck.
that's right.
All of us in modern-day broadcasting, and to some degree, I think, envy the great days of the radio dramas, the dance band remotes, the glamour days of radio that Chuck Schaden brings back on WLTD. Did anybody here ever get to do a dance band remote with a big live dance band from a hotel? I thought Grandpa Weber.
I used to do polka remotes from the Nightingale Ballroom in Menominee Falls on Sunday afternoon.
Was it a highlight?
It certainly was. It was heavy. But,
Led Zeppelin never played there, did
no,
they?
no, they didn't. I envy Chuck in what he does because he's dealing in a commodity that everyone can relate to. My kind of music, not everyone goes for. Bob's, obviously, not everyone. Sure, not everybody goes for them. But everybody can get into nostalgia.
That's true. Yeah, I think your point's well made. Of course, I'm not sure how long nostalgia is going to run. Chuck may have to look for something else in a few years. I think we are assuming something, however, that all our viewers know all about the radio stations in Chicago, and it's very likely that there are people watching who have never listened to one or more of the stations represented here tonight. So why don't we start with each of you guys taking a minute or so to tell about your station and the shift that you pull there, the work that you do, and a little bit about it. Bob, we'll start with WLS.
Well, we're on the afternoon, and WLS is classified as a top 40 rock station, although, and I'm prejudiced because I work there, but I really believe this, that we are not the typical top 40 rocker of today, because there's a lot more going on at our radio station than just a smiling voice and the time and temperature and pumping out 89,000 hits in a row. There's a lot more to it, which unfortunately is not the case with most top 40 stations today. So, but if you want to classify the radio stations, we play the top hits, the best-selling records of the day, and plus we have other features. I do the BS horoscope and love counselor in the afternoon. BS standing for Bob Sirott, of course. And things of that type go on the radio station all the time in addition to the music.
Okay, Sherman, I assume there's somebody who hasn't heard News Radio 70.
I hope not. WBBM has been all news for almost 7 years. I've been with them for nearly 6 of those 7. News radio is probably the newest of the several formats that radio has taken. When you say all news, it sounds like a heavy grind of disaster and catastrophe and political story and robbery, rape, and murder, and that's really not it, because news radio encompasses a wide variety, just as a newspaper does. And we're talking about services such as weather and business reports and sports. We're talking about features that deal with entertainment. We're talking, of course, about hard news. I'm on from 2 until 6, Monday through Friday in the afternoons, and my program encompasses that kind of a variety. The first couple of hours tend to be a little softer, when I will get more feature-oriented with more extended interviews with studio guests. The last 2 hours of the program, as we move into what is called drive time, your larger audience, higher concentration of activity on the air, tends to be more geared toward harder news. Then I'm also involved in doing some restaurant reviews that appear on the weekend on WBBM, and it's an interesting thing that I probably get as much response to restaurant reviews that appear 3 times on Saturday as I do to anything else I do.
And you get free meals all over town.
Well, not exactly quite like that.
Chuck Schaden, tell us about WLTD and yourself.
Well, we're at 1590 on the AM dial. It's a 1,000-watt daytime station broadcasting out of Evanston, and I'm on the air from 7 until 10 in the mornings, and on 1 to 5 on Saturday afternoons. And we have the old-time radio shows. If you were around in the 30s and the 40s and you used to listen to the Lux Radio Theater on Monday night and Fibber McGee on Tuesday and Mr. District Attorney on Wednesday and the Barn Dance on Saturday and Truth or Consequences and Jack Benny, we've got them all, and we play all of those shows in their entirety with the old commercials intact. And it's been fairly well received. We've got a lot of people out there who enjoy hearing those again. And the most amazing thing to me has been that there are loads of people who never heard them, who find them interesting and exciting and entertaining. And if you watch an old movie on television, then why not listen to an old radio show on radio? It's just as much, if it was good in the first place, it's still good. So we have a good time listening to these shows.
Do you play any records, read any news?
Well, we have news. We have, we're affiliated with Mutual, and we have network news come in. We have some local news along with that, and we do have music. And our music starts, our playlist runs from about 1919 until Elvis's first record.
That's where you cut it off?
That's where we cut it off.
At that record or after it?
Well, maybe we'd play it once in a while.
from the waist up only.
Right, yeah. Listen, Bob, in 25 years, I'm taping your stuff now, so in 25 years, I'm going to be playing your stuff.
Incidentally, Chuck, how do you get around or get away from running the actual commercials that were on those shows? For example, Lux Radio Theater, or it seems to me I heard a Chesterfield commercial one time, or a Johnson's Wax commercial.
You don't hear cigarette commercials. You do hear the other products. First of all, the commercial that we play is part of history now.
Sure, I enjoy the commercials.
It's not,
But can't you build them? Can't you build the advertisers and collect money for running those spots?
Well, we've never tried it. We've never tried it.
I would
One
if I
day,
were
you
you.
know, who knows? But the cigarette commercials, because of the present FCC regulations, we don't run. I think that we really could run them because of the historical value to them, but we don't want someone to say, hey, they're running cigarette commercials. Now,
You don't want to rattle the cage.
Fatima maybe, you know, they're out of business.
We got to get to Clark because he's on a radio station that has just radically changed. He's
Boy,
part
that
of a new
they
thing
have.
in the town. Tell us about WMAQ and your job there.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact, John, they made the change to country music, and having been with WMAQ for almost 4 years now, I'm happy to say that I'm with a first-class winner. Finally. They, for a long time, showed very little sign of life, but with this transition to country music, it has taken off like a shot. And I'm currently doing the 7 to midnight show, only up until the time that they find their country queen.
A young lady's going to replace you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, they have been interviewing young ladies for the better part of a week now, and we have seen some exciting women and some tired-looking broads. And I must say the tired-looking broads are in the majority. But they've had a couple of very exciting, unusual, tentative ladies go through there, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, they will have their country queen.
Do any of them have tattoos?
Boy, there are a couple I'm going to have to check out, Sherman. I'll find out for you, though.
If you need any help, call.
Yeah.
We'll stop for a moment and then continue. Stay up for more of Midnight.
You hear a lot of talk right now about car prices. Well, the best place to talk price is in your Ford dealer's showroom. Why? Because if you're ready to buy, he's ready to deal. Really deal on 35 different models, including the Ford that's outsold all other newcomers combined, the fabulous new Ford Granada. And you'll get cash rebates from Ford up to $500 on selected 75 small Fords. So come on in and get the right car, right price, right deal, right now. Sorry, Chevy.
Great grumbling gullet. It's Gulliver, and he's hungry. What better way to line his gargantuan gullet than with a delicious Gulliver's pizza baked in the pan? Extra thick, 2 layers of mozzarella cheese standard, served in an old English atmosphere. Enjoy Gulliver's famous pizza, or gully burgers, steaks, Italian dishes, something for everyone. Gulliver's, Milwaukee and Dempster, Niles, or 2727 West Howard in Chicago.
Great for you, but how do I get in?
Gulliver's travels with deliveries, too. Gulliver's, lunch and evenings.
Do your basement walls leak, or do you get seepage through unsightly cracks? Put a stop to leaky basements by calling the waterproofing experts, Jet Dry Waterproofing Service at 620-1666. The Jet Dry system applies bentonite super sealer through jet pressure from the outside. No messy digging. Call Jet Dry for a free estimate. Residential, commercial, industrial. Put an end to seepage and enjoy a dry, comfortable basement. Call 620-1666. That's 620-1666.
Had trouble getting auto insurance where you live in Chicago? Here's the answer. The Illinois Plan. It now makes auto insurance easy to get at fair rates. Rates depend on your individual record, not on where you live. It's available from any auto insurance agent or at 4 convenient Chicago offices. You qualify if you have a valid license, a registered car, and you've been unable to get insurance. Call 346-1991. Sign up today and drive protected today.
All of us here on Midnight tonight can remember when Clark Webber was a big-time, big-city disc jockey. And we were all out in the super boonies, and it appeared that the life was super glamorous. Do you find that there's a mystique, gentlemen, that your listeners have about you, which is a little hard to live up to, that they regard you're living in a life of glamour with limousines, beautiful women, meals in the pump room, meeting the beautiful people, and would never suspect that occasionally you carry out the garbage?
I think that's definitely true, and it doesn't, that's not limited just to my listeners. It includes my friends, who I think have an image about my work and my 8 or 9 hours that I spend every day that probably is not quite true, because when you're preparing a 4-hour news program, there's a great deal of work and time just behind a typewriter and getting your fingers kind of dirty that's involved.
I notice you're wearing a wedding ring.
Oh, yes.
There was a day when no man on radio could admit he was married because it would destroy his appeal to the female audience. You don't put on any any facade like that on News Radio 78, do you?
Not a bit.
Those were
Even
disc-
talk
those are-
about my children.
Those were disc jockeys, not news
Well,
people.
I was going to be very nice to you, Bob, and not ask if that mystique still went on in the rock stations.
Oh, I think so, and I think that's what you have to remember when you meet people, that they are, some of them are looking up to you. And I remember how it was when I was in the WLS viewing room, and you have to remember that. How I try to remember how I felt, and when just a simple wave could mean so much to someone.
But do you have to put up a facade of glamour as part of your job to appeal to the young ladies?
No, I don't think so.
It's not a facade, it's real,
it's
is that what you're
glamorous
telling
enough.
me? Could there be an old man, that is someone over 40 in the parlance of rock and roll radio, who's married and has 6 kids and has a station wagon and a house in the suburbs, who could play the role of rock and roll disc jockey successfully?
I think it would be harder, but certainly it's probably a little bit harder to relate to what's going on, and you probably aren't that anxious to go to some high school, or even college for that matter, if you're in that position, but certainly it is.
Isn't that what Clark's been doing?
I don't agree, because I am over 40, and I could not go back to rock music because I couldn't relate to it, nor could I relate to its audience anymore.
But if you didn't leave, what?
I would have left of my own will then. Bob.
I had the feeling, Clark, that you'd just about had it up to here.
Yes, I had. I found, because demographically, the teenager that's buying the 45 RPM record, that age has been going down and down and down. Not so much the albums, but the singles. And for me to relate to a 12, to a 13, to a 14-year-old teenager today, and having a house full of daughters myself, and having it very difficult to relate to them, yeah, I did. I finally reached the point where I couldn't cut that anymore.
Some of our viewers may not know the Chuck Weber phenomena. Chuck, or Clark rather, came to Chicago from Milwaukee in about 1957.
I came here in 1960. Is that right? At LS,
1960,
yes.
when WLS first went to the rock and roll format.
That's right, yeah.
And was a super rock and roll disc jockey on the late night shift, then moved eventually into the morning shift, and eventually became program director of the station, I believe. Then he went to WCFL as a hotshot morning rock and roll disc jockey.
Sold out for 2 more years.
Wasn't a bad sellout, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was a good one.
There was good money involved.
That's right.
And then evolved into the middle-of-the-road announcer for WMAQ, middle-of-the-road music, and then became a man who has freelance commercials running on various TV stations around town, and now is doing the country and western thing. I guess you've proved that a man can play with the market, shift with the formats, and move through the job.
It proved
and
that
survive.
to management of many stations, because I'm sure that all of us in this room at one time or another reach a point where the manager says, well, we're changing to this and we don't think you can fit in.
But there is a time when you can't do the rock and roll job
That's right.
anymore.
That
Psychologically,
yes.
you've just had it with the rock and roll job.
If you're smart enough to get out, there are many who have been at LS down through the years who unfortunately did not do that, and who are out in the minor boonies today doing the same thing at 46, 48 years old. One who is now at Winston-Salem, North Carolina, on an FM station, who was a big star on LS.
By the same token, however, I have a feeling that the people like Sherman Kaplan at WBBM feel themselves a cut above the disc jockey class, and don't feel that there is anyone who has once been a disc jockey or a staff announcer who can come in and do their thing.
Not necessarily true. I started out as a rock and roll disc jockey. That was my first real full-time job in radio, and I did it for about 2.5 years while I was still in college, and I left it to leave the radio business altogether. But I found after being out for just really a few months, I wanted to get back in. And as I was looking for a job, I contacted a station that I'd heard had an opening for a disc jockey, and I contacted them, and they said, we've just filled our disc jockey's job, but we need a news director. I said, it's funny you should ask. It was a smaller market. I was able to move in. I kind of taught myself news as I went along. I guess I'd kind of been interested in it all along.
I don't think you need to be ashamed of that, because I think that's almost the way it goes with everybody in
I want to tell you that I'm very grateful for my rock background, because it has taught me a very important thing in broadcasting, and that is pace and vitality. And if a broadcaster does not have vitality and can't communicate on a one-to-one basis and sound interested in what he is doing, he certainly can't reach his listener.
Now you got to wonder, could Chuck Schaden come up out of the 1940s, dump the nostalgia, and become a rock and roll disc jockey?
No, I don't think so. I didn't even want to become a radio personality, if I am that or anything. I started out as a mild-mannered reporter for a local community newspaper in Chicago with an interest in these radio shows, because I grew up with the shows, and wanted to hear them again when they were gone. Went to television, you know, with everybody else in the early 50s, then decided I'll go back to Mr. District Attorney, and I turned on the radio, and he was gone, and I had to let him down.
So
I
you don't see yourself progressing through a radio career in some respect?
Well, I don't know. Maybe so. I love what I'm doing, and I'd like to do it. But I'm not acting. You see, I think a rock disc jockey is an actor. I don't think a newsman is an actor.
Okay, we'll have to get Bob Sirott's answer to that, and we'll all worry about his future when he gets over 30. Stay up for more of Midnight.
Chances are, 'cause I wear a silly grin the moment you come into view.
Hi, I'm Johnny Mathis, and I love to sing songs that give people that nice, warm, close-together feeling. Songs like,
You ask how much I need you, must I explain? When Sunny gets blue, her eyes get gray and cloudy. I'm too misty and too much in love.
you'll find those and lots of other beautiful ballads on my new 4-album collection from Columbia House. It's called Johnny Mathis, Warm and Tender, with 40 of my favorite songs. Remember?
What will my Mary say? It's wonderful, wonderful.
It's the kind of music you like to listen to when you're with someone that you care for. Altogether, these 40 songs sort of sum up what life is all about. Love. Now, as a special TV offer, Columbia House will send you the entire collection for only $9.98. 8-track cartridges, only $13.98. Here's all you have to do.
To order, phone 312-935-9500 or save COD charges by sending $9.98 for records, $13.98 for tapes to Johnny Mathis, P.O. Box 999, Chicago 60690, or phone 935-9500. Skiers, don't miss Maury Major's spectacular dock sale. Super bargain days on skis, boots, binding, and poles. Maury Major Sports on LaSalle. Jewel features sealed sweet Temple oranges from Florida this week, only 5 cents each in all suburban Jewel food stores.
We've said some things about rock and roll disc jockeys tonight without giving BS a chance to respond. From the BS Almanac, a response to that.
John, I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things Clark said. First, I think not everyone can make that transition. I think, you know, that really is the mark of a real pro, where you can start doing country music like you've been doing it for 50 years, which is a compliment to Clark, because it really sounds good. But let me pick up on what Clark said about the people buying 45 RPM records getting younger and younger. Although that may be true, the audience of a station like WLS, and I don't know if this is all that much different from how it was when you were there, Clark, but we have more 12-year-olds listening than any other station, but we also have more 25-year-olds, more 18-year-olds, and so on.
Your 18 to 35-year-old demographic, I'm sure, is just as big as, or bigger, perhaps, than it has always been.
Oh, sure, and especially in the afternoon drive time. So that when you were saying that you might not be able to relate to a 12-year-old, well, you can certainly relate to 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds, and you do.
True. But the people who listen to WLS, regardless of their actual age, have a 12-year-old mentality.
Oh! Well, John, we're going to Super Boonies. We're going to 1 o'clock this morning, right?
I was teasing you. I want you to know that.
You always tease me when I come on here. Last time it was payola, and now it's 12-year-old mentality.
And I like you.
Now, your daughter listens, I know.
That's right. My daughter's a regular listener of yours.
And she has the mentality of a 25-year-old.
No, she doesn't. She has the body of a 25-year-old. And she's about 15. Nice girl, really. A lovely girl. Now, the question that I've got to ask is, what happens to you in 10 years? Do you think you will phase into one of these other formats?
Well, I would hope that I would be able to, but my theory has always been if you can be successful if you are invaluable to your station, and if you feel that you would be missed if you were gone. In other words,
Bob, everybody wears out.
Well, but wait a minute. I think if you work so that you would be missed if you were taken off the air, which means you do a lot on your show, and also if you are invaluable to your station, you do a lot of things besides just your show, you'll stick around a long time, and if you're lucky enough to be at a station like LS, you can make lots of money for a while, so that if...
you go buy a ranch in Montana.
No, or buy some land in Illinois and sock it away.
Who was going to buy the ranch in Montana?
He never bought it, by the way.
He never went, did he?
He may buy it soon.
Now, dear friends, the tough question may be from this point. You're appearing on the competition now on television. Would you rather be in the TV business than the radio business?
There's a degree of anonymity in radio that I really enjoy. Now, maybe that's because
you don't get bugged on the street.
That's right. That's right. Maybe if I had a golden opportunity that came along from a television organization, I might jump at it.
Bob?
You never know.
When I'm 30.
You take over this show.
Yeah, you'll be ready for a
I'm going to be ready tonight. Ask the producers. Clark?
I think I would. I could make the switch, but regardless of whether it was radio or TV, I think that they are two of the most exciting mediums that we have. And
Chuck's not even sure that he wants to go into radio. How about television?
Oh, well, you see, I like what I'm doing on radio. I don't think I can do that on television, to enjoy the old radio shows.
Let me tell you about television. During this commercial break, we have to stop, stay up for a tad more of midnight.
Looking for something original? A one-of-a-kind? A relaxing hobby? A great gift? Just plain fun. It's all at Ann's Original Figurines, 4550 Roosevelt Road, Hillside, Illinois, 1/2 mile west of Mannheim Road. Under one roof, you'll find European craftsmen manufacturing over 3,500 plaster compositions, a full line of lead-free paints in 42 colors and 17 stains, aerosols, glazes, glitters, lamp parts, and all the supplies necessary to complete a do-it-yourself original. If this is all new to you, meet Millie, who instructs 6 free painting classes every week. Ann's Original Figurines has the widest selection in the country, all priced between 15 cents and $18. You'll also find a convenient gift shop priced lower than all others. Be original. Buy direct from the manufacturer's home outlet in Hillside, Illinois, 4550 Roosevelt Road. Ann's Original Figurines.
This is Cedar Park Cemetery. Beautiful and unique, it's one of the few park lawn cemeteries in the Midwest. Its natural beauty and serene simplicity are complemented by magnificent works of art, individually commissioned from American and Italian sculptors. Professional counselors at Cedar Park will assist you in making wise decisions before need to protect you and your family and give you peace of mind. Cedar Park Cemetery, South Halstead and 100...
It's hard work keeping Chicago's #1 news team in shape. They have to be dedicated.
What's your name, soldier?
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Fahey Flynn.
They have to keep on their toes and work together closely.
Right face! Right face!
Without losing their individuality.
That outfit is good. Not perfect yet, but very, very good.
Chicago's #1 news team.
Skiers, don't miss Maury Mage's spectacular dock sale. Super bargain days on skis, boots, binding, and poles. Maury Mage Sports on LaSalle.
(263-0800). That's a telephone number you should remember if you would like to be in the audience for midnight. Telephone during business hours, 263-0800. Ask for the midnight office, which is open during the daytime, and get your tickets all arranged for. Okay, we'd be happy to have you with us. I've been real pleased to have these guys here tonight. I wish I had 3 more hours to visit with them. My thanks to Sherman Kaplan of WBBM Radio, big-time news guys on the afternoon. My thanks to Bob Sirott of WLS Radio, who's on at about the same time, playing those rock and roll records. And my thanks to Chuck Schaden, who's on WLTD, playing those old-time radio shows in the morning. And my thanks to Clark Weber, who is currently filling in for a young lady on WMAQ.
Been my pleasure.
You'll be around. Good night, my dear friend.
Good night, Captain Midnight.
And I'd like to say...
Guests appearing on Midnight stay at the Hampshire House, Chicago's distinguished hotel for traveling executives and celebrities. Stay tuned now for Passage to Adventure next.